Tevach in a mazelige Woch, a lechtige Woch, a freiliche Woch, a gesehnte Woch, in a mazelige Woch. Talking about a gute Woch, I remember now that the Heilige Baditche with Rabbi Yitzchak made these words, and then it wasn't a very old song somebody put it together. I think it was Jonas Schwartz. Maybe one day I'll make my own song on it, but now we're gonna sing the song. Gott fin Avroam, min fin Yitzchak, in fin Yaakov, Bahidan lieb, vol Yisroel, fin allem beisen in allem Loi. Als de Woche in de Chassidishe in der Jud, sollen es kommen zu Eminis Chachumim, zu Eminis Shalaime, zu Haves Aboyre, zu Dvaikef, in Kiddush Ubrichi. Ribono shel olam, wie bist hoch, anoy sein la yuav koyach, geb dan a liebe jüdische kinderlich. Oh, ja, dir zu dienen mit den ganzen Koyach, bis du gedenkst, der Welt ist auswendig. Ich halte schon auf der Weg, a Gitarre. Beautiful Shabbos I had together with Unbelievable. Manhattan is such a good heilige Chassidishe Shtiebel in Prague, Shul, and he's a Shul, and he brings people to Chassidus.
This is the new rabbi.
A gute Woche. My name is Yaakov Yosef Felberbaum. 5 years ago, I was visiting a family member for Shabbos in the Upper East Side, Manhattan, and Mount Sinai Hospital. Shabbos morning, I asked my friend if there is any Chassidishe Shtiebel with a mikveh in Manhattan. So he answered me, sure, you can walk to the west side to the wonderful Vorhand Shul, West End 191st, Besmeder Heichal Moshe, and there you will find everything you are looking for. I was so happy about this information, and immediately I started walking to the west side. After a long walk through the park, finally I got there. I came into the shul, and I was so surprised that everyone was so welcoming me and so warm to me. And the main thing was that the roof by himself came over to me, and he made me feel so comfortable, welcome, and taken care of. I was so surprised to see such a beautiful place, such a nice shul, with good people, warm people, and all types of people together. After the mikveh and a warm davening experience, the roof himself called me up to his house to join the Shabbos Seder. I must say I really enjoyed it, begashmias, berachnias. I was so amazed to see so many guests, all types of people from all sides of the world. Everyone is sitting together with such a achdus and schmoozing together the Torah, listening to the Torah of the roof, and singing together Zmiris. It was something special. I was amazed. The rest is history. I was like, wow, this is something. After coming many times and joining the Shul for Shabbos and the Shabbos Seders with the roof and family, I still feel the same amazing good feeling I felt from this place the first time I came. I can say that I personally know that the roof and the Rebbetzin are putting in this place only three things: their whole heart and neshama, their whole energy and effort, and a lot of money. This is besides that I know that they are helping and supporting and encouraging many singles and second marriages a lot with shidduchim, advice, help, support, encouragement, in much more. So every dollar you are giving for such an important, wonderful, chushiva place full of tzedukah v'chesed is counted a lot. Give a lot and Hashem will repay you with much more, with all the bruchas and all ashpuas from Buna, Chaim, Zoyne, a lot of nachas and everything you need. And Hashem should help that the Ruv and the Rebbetzin, the whole family, all the Mispalim, the whole Shul, all the Mishtat from here tonight should have all the bruchas. Agutov.
Yehuda Green needs no introduction. He davens here in our Kehillah regularly. He's a mispalo, gives us chizik, and he participates in the programming of the Kehillah. He has performed throughout the world. He performs at chasanas, at Shabbatons, at bar mitzvahs, at dinners, conventions, and also our Melaveh Malka. He feels a shtakididus with the Rav Shlita, a shtakididus with Al Kehillah. He is the West Side Story. Without further ado, Yehuda Green. Friends, Mispalalim, Orchim, just the Rav Shlita, all the Rabbanim, It's a pleasure to again greet you at our virtual Melaveh Malka Parshas HaChassidishe this week. Parshas HaChassidishe is the Parshas which we have a renaissance, rejuvenation, hischachus, and this shul for sure has a tremendous hischachus since Corona. Baruch Hashem, we are again full of programming. We have shiurim. Rabbi Simon gives a shir weekly. David Redick gives a Daf Yomi shir daily. Rug gives a Mishnah shir regularly, and we go with programming, Shabbatons. We have chances, opportunities for those who need shidduchim, chanasas orchim. The Rav's involved in many people's own personal challenges, and Rebbe's also is involved in shidduchim, and we all come together to give chizik this program, this Melaveh Malka, to give inspiration and be inspired by what we'll have tonight. The yard site of the Rav Zatzal was not too far back, and Rav Vorhand Zatzal, Rav Zetzi Vorhand, was involved in tremendous chasadim. This is the 72nd year of the Shul's existence. 72, Gematria Chesed, and the Rav Zatzal was the epitome of Chesed. Many people he saved during the war, before and after the war. People came to these shores in America due to his shtadlus, his wherewithal, getting visas and papers and documents and using whatever pull he had to bring them over from war-torn Europe to America. I myself grew up in this medrash, this shul. I'm makir toiv for all the Rav Zatzal did for myself, my family, and it's a zchus to be all of us here to be able to participate and be part of this opportunity to be makir toiv to this medrash.
Following his liberation from the camps, Rabbi Zev Tzvi Vorhand made his way to Prague, where he was appointed the chief rabbi of the city. He used his position to create relationships with officials in power. When escaping, Jews began making their way through Czechoslovakia. Rabbi Vorhand began using his connections to help feed and clothe the escapees and to help them get visas so that they could flee the country. This telegram, sent by an agent of the Vad Hatzalah soon after the war, describes Rabbi Vorhand doing marvelous work, adding that without his work, thousands would be in danger each day. His home provided him by the government as official rabbi of the city became a haven for Rabbanim whom he personally hosted. Here the Osrov Rebbe puts an ad to note that letters to him should be addressed to Rav Vorhand's house in Prague. While the Joint and other secular Jewish organizations provided for the needs of refugees, the needs of the religious, especially the Rabbanim, were only very partially met. Here's an article in Hapardes about a new organization Rav Vorhand opened to provide for Rabbanim. On this list of over 80 Rabbanim are those who rebuilt Yiddishkeit when they arrived in free countries. Among them were giant tzaddikim, Baalei Ruach HaKodesh. Hundreds of letters asking him for help getting visas were written during this period. As he created relationships with Lawrence Steinhardt, the American ambassador to Prague, he was frequently asked to intercede by the American Council to help people emigrate. This letter is on Aguda stationery, written by the Bluzhever Rebbe. The letters between Rabbi Vorhand and Ambassador Lawrence Steinhardt demonstrate a relationship which went deeper than mere formality or expediency. Ambassador Steinhardt apologized that he couldn't make it to Rav Vorhand's wedding. As Ambassador Steinhardt was Jewish, the Rav dropped off Pesach provisions at his home. This is the letter where Steinhardt thanks him. Here is a letter from the consular expressing how much they would miss him when he left. Rav Vorhand's condolences on Steinhardt's tragic death in a plane accident, noting that Steinhardt helped him rescue refugees. Rav Vorhand worked hand in hand with many noted Askonim. One of them was Rabbi Schoenfeld, the founder of Chief Rabbi's Religious Emergency Council, or CRC for short. Dozens of documents testify to a scheme of rescue they were collaborating on. A rescue of over a dozen families who would serve as shachtim or in other religious services. The proliferation of dozens, perhaps even hundreds of documents demonstrate how difficult and painstaking was the rescue work. This letter discusses various rescue cases they were working on together. The note on the back of the letter gives us tremendous insight into Rav Vorhand's inner world, his noble feeling of caring and achrayas. He feels the need to go to America to arrange the tremendous debts he carried from his work, as well as to arrange the well-being of 1,200 children from Romania. But he didn't know what to do. How could he leave the tzoros and the achrayas of the people who were depending upon him? But I hope for the Yeshua of Hashem. In this letter to Rav Schoenfeld, we can see the trauma of recent escapes from the communists in Prague to Vienna in the sharp lines of the handwriting and between the words. But his main concern is the terrible plight of the other refugees there, and he beseeches Rav Schoenfeld to help create a branch of CRC in Vienna. The personal nature of the connections he forged with diplomats who aided him in rescue work is evident in this letter from Montello, where he shares the personal details and travails of his life. Even after arriving in America, while still in a hotel, Rav Vorhand was receiving letters requesting his help rescuing people. In this letter from Vendela Calendar from the Canadian consulate, we see how the rescue work continues.
When we talk about the Prague Rov, when we talk about the great founder of Heichal Moshe, we are talking about a person that was a tata, a father for Klal Yisrael in Europe, unfortunately with Chorban Europa, when the concentration camps existed and when the Nazis thought they were going to annihilate every Jew. The Bel Zeruv once said that every Jew that is living after the Holocaust is a nace. All of the children, whoever were survivors, they were without material. They were without their physical needs, certainly without their spiritual needs. But there was one person, the Prague Rov, that went to see it that every single child would have what they needed, that every child would somehow be reintroduced to their Jewish roots. He was called the rescuer of children. This is the greatest title that anybody in Klal Yisrael could have. Someone that cares about Hashem's children. V'chol bonayich limudei Hashem. That we should all be learned, every child, no matter where, no matter when, no matter what background, no matter the intellectual capabilities. Can you imagine the Yisomim, those orphans of the war? Can you imagine when they finally emerged and were rescued to the grace of Hashem? Can you imagine how much they needed, what they needed? The Prague Rov was the one who went to all the children and gathered them up and saw to their needs, physical and spiritual, to their ruchniistic needs. What an unbelievable idea it was that in Prague, this is what he saw himself, as Moshe Rabbeinu, as a shepherd of Klal Yisrael.
Rav Vorhand was so beloved by all the Gedolim. Rabbi Aaron Kotler came to Prague. Rabbi Avram Kalmanovich came to Prague. Rabbi Eliezer Silver, Dr. Solomon Schoenfeld, Rabbi Isaac Alevi Herzog, Recha Sternbuch. They knew this is the man of connection.
I'd like to pause for a commercial break. One of the great TV or radio personalities is Reb Zev Brenner, who davens here in Abbas Medrash daily. A great moderator, a great interviewer, a great Talmud Chacham. He says Divrei Torah often after davening, and he's a good friend of the Rav Shlita. And tonight we have the privilege of hearing Zev Brenner interview the Marid Ashra, the Rav Shlita. It's Saturday night. That's his time when he's on. And it's our privilege tonight to have Zev Brenner go online to interview the Rav. Without further ado, Zev Brenner.
privilege of sitting with the Prague Rosh, the Moshe Vorhand Shlita. I've been coming to this shul for over 30 years. It's a very, very special shul on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And so many different kinds of people come to the shul. Rav, I want you to comment, whether it was Lipa Schmelzer, whether it was Matis Yo in the day, or Shlomo Kalcha, blessed memory, the chief rabbi of Israel, Rabbi Lauk, Rabbi Grossman, you name them, from all walks of life. So tell me, how is it that this shul is able to attract so many different kinds of Jews to come on a regular basis whenever they're in town?
First of all, I want to thank you, Reb Zev, for having me on your show. It's always a pleasure being with you and seeing you in shul, and the warmth that you bring to the shul and to the ear. And the question you ask is a great question. How is it that our shul is so inclusive and so caring and so
it's vibrant. It's vibrant. Right. It's able to attract people.
From every walk of life, find their place here, and find warmth, and find a home. It really comes from my father, Zechariah Bracha, the Prague Rav. My father, Zechariah Bracha, was the Rav in Prague from 1945 to 1949, and was a great leader. He was able to help save thousands of people, and it didn't make a difference who it was that needed help.
Right, I think we should elaborate. Tell people your father, blessed with memory, smuggled Jews into Israel. It was that Palestine when he did it. He smuggled weapons. In fact, there are those historians that say he helped create the state of Israel.
Right. So he was so beloved and so caring. He gave love, and he was beloved by all. Whether it was Rosh Yeshivas from Telz, Rabbi Aaron, every yeshiva, Branovich, or Chassidishe Rebbes, Vizhnitz, Satmar, Skalena, Skver, every Rebbe and every Rosh Yeshiva and every layman and every person was just as choshev and that he cared about and loved, and he was able to help everyone. And whether it was even non-religious, he cared about every single Jew. And that's what he brought over when he came to the United States. When he started the shul here, that's how he approached, and that's how he welcomed people. And he planted this warmth in our shul. So it's a schus for me when my father was nifter that I got involved, and that we tried to emulate and bring in this warmth and view this warmth.
I might add that I used to have conversations with the Rav's father, Rav Zev Tzvi Vorhand of blessed memory. I remember one story he told me when he was negotiating for weapons for the state of Israel. So one pirate used to negotiate with a gun to his head. And he said to the pirate, "We're negotiating. Why is there a gun pointed to my head?" And the pirate said, "This is how I negotiate." I never forget that story, but yet he didn't let it stand in his way. He was able to negotiate and get not only smuggled Jews into Israel, but also weapons for the state of Israel, came to America, and the foundations are here that he laid, that the Prague Rav Shlita is carrying on that tradition of the warmth, of inclusiveness, of involving, letting people come from all walks of life, find it comfortable to come to the shul. From the most religious to people who are not religious. In fact, I have to tell one story, maybe the Rav will amplify this. There was a young man who went to the Heichal school, which used to be down the block on West 91st Street where the shul is located. And what happened was Simchas Torah, they wanted to show their students what the Orthodox Shtiebel was like. So they brought a group of boys to the shul. It was Simchas Torah at night. And there was one boy, I don't know how, maybe the Rav can pick up, where the Rav invited him for dinner. And what happened?
Well, what happened was after the whole group came in and they enjoyed the festivities and the dancing. And right after we finished the hakofas, I saw it was such an opportunity, so many nice young people that came to the shul, and I felt that maybe they needed a little feeling of the continuation of the yontif. So I invited the whole crowd up, and they came up, and somehow we were able to make the Suda for everyone, and they had such a good time. that one of them, it impacted one of them, and the rest he himself became religious, and he has a following even today, and that's a Shul.
And not only did this person become religious, I run the 915 million. The Shul has had 3 minyanim every day with COVID. And Baruch Hashem, now it's going to start to come back. But this young man came to the 915 million, and he was interested in learning, and he used to come to the Rav's house for meals, and he ended up going to Lakewood. Today, he's a Chassidishe rabbi in Israel. He came here a number of years ago. So that one encounter with the Shul, with the warmth of the Shul, brought this one person where he not only loves Yiddishkeit, today he's spreading Yiddishkeit. So that's a testament to the Rav Shlita, to what the kind of Shul this is. And I'm sure there are many other stories. This one that I know about personally because I witnessed it. And it's something so special. So I know there have been challenges with the Shul, with COVID. Every Shul has struggled. So things are, Baruch Hashem, starting to come back together. But I know it's a lot of haravanya when I went to Yeshiva. It's a lot of work that and the Rav, I know, is putting a lot of work and making sure that there are a lot of programming in the Shul.
Baruch Hashem, we still have the Shurim, Rabbi Redder, Rabbi Simon, and others that give Shurim over here on a steady basis. They continue, and they were doing it during COVID as well, and on a different capacity. But Baruch Hashem, they're continuing, and we try to bring in other programs. For instance, the Hanukkah program. We have Shabbatons that we're trying to be Mekarev, and with that as well to help Shidduchim, the Shidduchim crisis that not only the West Side has, but all over New York and all over the United States, which everyone has to get involved to be able to help friends and build up homes to build Klal Yisrael.
I have to tell you, I was here for the Lipa Shmelzer Shabbaton, where I had a lot of singles and other people came in. Nice mix. I met some heads of Jewish organizations that came to the Shul, that drew people from outside who normally don't come to the Shul, and they really enjoyed being here. But what was also so nice is that the Shul, at its own expense, provided meals. People didn't pay a penny to come to the Shabbaton. The meals were provided by the Shul, very lavish, very generous. People had such a wonderful time because the Shul was just looking to help people, bring them in the case like the Prague Rav just said, to make shidduchim, but also to make an environment. Having Shabbatonim also adds to the beauty of the davening of the Shul, and those are the kinds of things that the Shul is known for. And it's really, Baruch Hashem, I see there's more activity in that front now too. Now that COVID is over, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem.
And the Rebbetzin and others, Debbie, Susan, and others are involved as Shadchanim, and they have Shurim, and Baruch Hashem, it really has an impact on many people.
Well, the Rav says something very, very important too, that the Rebbetzin, she should live and be well. The Rebbetzin has also encouraged a lot of women to come to get involved in the Shul, because sometimes people think of the Shul as more male-oriented, but there's also programming for women, and women are invited to come and participate, whether it's in the Shabbatonim or the davening or the special programming. Sure. The Shul is inclusive of everybody, and that's, I think, such an important, that's why the Shul is successful. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. So Prague Rav Moshe Vorhand, thank you for joining us. And we have to have the Rav come back again.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And you continue beautiful programming that you have.
Baruch Hashem, and together in the Shul here, what we have. In fact, I love coming. I met the Sakma Rebbe here I was here one time, and every year the Biala Rebbe comes, and you never know who you're going to meet. I met Matis Yohu. You never know who you're going to meet coming to Shul.
The Rebbe was here. The Ger Rebbe was here. Rav Simcha, many Rebbeim and great leaders.
We have tonight at Melaveh Malka a guest speaker about Moshe Leaf, a friend of the Shul, of the Rav Shlita, my own personal friend, who is a remarkable speaker and who appreciates what the Rav and the Shul accomplish. It says, Mital HaShamayim. Mital is Rashi Teves, Moshe Leaf. When he speaks, it's Mishamayim. He has tremendous knowledge, tremendous speaking ability, and he will depict and portray for you the besmedrish, the vibrancy of the Kehillah, for all of us to appreciate and to understand what we are here tonight to support. Without further ado, Moshe Tuvia Leaf Shlita.
We are currently in the juxtaposition between Geula and Hakrova. According to the Ramban, Shmois is the Sefer HaGeula, not the book of Exodus, but the book of redemption. Also, in Migdash v'Shachanti b'Seicha, the Tachlis of Shmois, of Geula, is to build a Mishkan, a Mokum of Ashuras HaShechina. Vayikra begins the Kabbanis, the Avodah, going closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu through those Kabbanis. Moshe Rabbeinu, at the conclusion of building the Mishkan, Moshe gave him a bracha. Yirotzen shetish v'shchina b'maaseh yadeichem, yinoyim Hashem alikeinu aleinu u'maaseh yadeinu koinu aleinu. My father Zatzal asked that bracha should have been given at the beginning of the process, when the adonim were poured, the sockets were fashioned and formed, the curtains, the areas were woven, when the gold and the copper, the silver, the purple wool were all donated. That's when you need an investment of Ashras HaShechina in Ma'aseh Yadeichem. Yirotzen shetish v'shchina b'Ma'aseh Yadeichem should have been a bracha at the onset, not at the conclusion. Once the Mishkan is built, it's like closing the barn door after American Pharaoh has escaped. What purpose could there be in Yiroten Shetish V'Shchina B'Ma'aseh Yadeichem after the Ma'aseh Yadeichem has been completed? My father Zatzal said, Moshe Rabbeinu was telling Klal Yisrael, you built a beautiful building, you built a Mishkan, do something with it. Yiroten Shetish V'Shchina B'Ma'aseh Yadeichem, invest in your Ma'aseh Yadeichem Shchina. Bring Kabbanis, grow close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the connection between Sefer HaGeula and Vayikra, which is all about a calling where a person realizes his potential and brings Kabbanis and grows closer to Hashem. When I was a youngster, I learned the Mir Yeshiva and the Agoyin of Shmuel Birnbaum Zatzal. And my second Seder Chavrusa was a young man by the name of Menachem Mendel Alevi Pollock from the west side of Manhattan. He was a good Chavrusa. He's a good friend until this day. I went for Shabbos to the west side. The doorman wheeled out some bicycles for us to take a spin on Riverside Drive. And I met Rav Vorhand, the Prague Rav, a Yid who invested his life in bringing Shechina to the world, in saving lives, and in creating a beautiful Makom Torah on the Upper West Side. I remember the Shul. It was fatzaitish, aristocratish. You walked in, you saw such wonderful, honorable people. I remember Mendy's parents, Acharim Tzadikim Levracha, elegant, aristocratic, and very contemporary at the same time. That was the flavor of the Shul over 40 years ago. And today, it's the same Malkum Kaddish. The Shul today is vibrant with 2 minyanim for Shachris, with Mincha and Ma'ariv, with Shiurim, with Daf Yomi, with Lomda Shishurim, with guest speakers, with the whole gamut of Yiddishkeit. And the bracha I give is the bracha Moshe Rabbeinu gave, echoing his words. Yirotzen shetish v'shchina b'ma'aseh yadeichem. Do something. Toishvei West Side. You have a schus to have such a Makom Torah in your midst, with the Chosh v'Talmud Chacham, the Heintiger Rav Shlita and his Rebbetzins of Zayin Gesund, with an open door policy, being Mekar of so many people for Shabbos. Spend Shabbos with the Shul, with the Kehillah. Spend Shabbos with Mendy Pollock and his Rebbetzin, with the Rav and the Rebbetzin, and enjoy what Yiddishkeit's all about, from Prague to the west side of Manhattan. The tefillas of today are joined with the tefillas of yesterday. It creates a gamut of avodas Hashem. Utilize the privilege and the opportunity to serve Hashem with Rav Vorhand and the Kehillah, and be zeicha b'siyata d'shmaya to Shidduchim, to Panosa, to Gesund, to Dereshim Verochem and Shalom Bayis, and to the Avodas Hashem that echoes the great Kehillah of Prague, where you be Zeicha, together with all of Klal Yisrael, to the greatest Simcha, B'vias HaGel, Meravi Ameinu, Amen.
We had tonight a great superstar in Jewish music, Rabbi Lipa Schmelzer. Rabbi Lipa has performed on Shabbos. He led the davening here this past season. He's a close friend of the Beis Medrash, of the Rav Shlita. He himself, a varme mensch, a varme yid, a heise chassid, and he brings simcha to the entire world. Wherever he goes, people smile, people are happy, people are jovial, and now we're starting Rosh Chodesh Nisan, a month of Pesach, of Yetzias Mitzrayim, of Simcha and Klal Yisrael. It's appropriate and it's our covet to ask Rabbi Lipa to sing a repertoire of nigunim to enhance and be sameach the Melaveh Malka. Rabbi Lipa, it's all yours.
The beginning is also a beat.
Chassidishe, der Rebbe Zishe used to say each and every day, Father in heaven, please listen, Tshuva Shlimo, now it's time to do. I will be Elach, Father in heaven, Tshuva Shalemo. Now it's time to do. And if you hear me every day preaching that forever, now I truly mean it, I promise you. Da-da-da-da-dam, da-dee-da-da-da-da-dam, da-dee-da-da-da-da-da, da-dee-dum-da, da-dee-da-da-da-da, 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 da-dee-dum-da-da. Das Albe Chassidishe, der Rebbe Zishe, hat jede Nacht Cheshboines, dem Zeifer sich Reunes, sich übergeklebt, seine Augen verdreht. Ich will sagen ehrlich, alles schon verrechten, bete ich beschäfen, Hashiva Yeni, aber ich hab schon gesucht von dir. Selbe werden Nächten, jetzt mein ich es endlos dick, ich such die Ziel. Da-da-da-da-dam, da-da-da-da-da-do-do, da-dee-do-do-do-do, da-dee-do-do-do, da-dee-do-do-do-do. Let's take it up a key. Ich will gaan ehrlich, schon verrichten, beit ich beschäftigt. Ajiveini, ich hab schon gesucht für dich, der wette Nächte. Jetzt mein ich es dich, ich such die Zieh. Da 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 da
Our next darshan will be our good Yedid Neman, Rabbi Ram Marmestein Shlita, Rav Kal Mechas here in the Upper West Side, a close Yedid of the Rav Shlita, and close Yedid of the Beis Medrash, and with a close Talmud and Yedid of Rav Vorhand Zatzal. Rav Ram Marmestein comes from England, but his impact on the West Side is tremendous, and him and the Rav Shlita together create a tremendous nachas ruach for Kadosh Baruch Hu. They bring to the West Side a vibrancy, the Messiah of the Avos. Ram told me that he is makir toiv to Rav Zatzal for all he did, that he helped establish the community to where it is now, that the community has a Messiah, has a past, has a history, and Rav Ram is recording the history of the Shul. It's our pleasure, and it's a kavod gadol to introduce Rabbi Ram Marmestein Shlita to say Dvar Torah and to describe to us the Beis Medrash, what it has, its accomplishments in our Shechuna. Rabbi Ram Marmestein.
Although I'm at this virtual Melaveh Malka, but I'm really at Melaveh Malka time just a couple of weeks before. And it's Motzei Shabbos Vayakel. I wanted to share a Shena Maisa, which I think is very connected to the uniqueness of the Heichal Moshe community. One of the things which is remarkable, it's been a good number of years since the roof has left this world. But he's left his style and his imprint on the Beis Medrash. And his son, Reb Nocha Moshe, continues with a lot of these things. That he brings the kollel there to learn in the evenings, to learn with anyone and everyone. He has made the Beis Medrash a place of learning where the distinguished Rosh Yeshiva Baruch Simon gives shiurim there at night, and people flock from all over to listen to his shiur, to make the Beis Medrash a place of Torah for all kinds. No distinctions, what your background is, what your interests are. You're a Yid and you need a place to learn? This is your place. Vayakel Moshe, that's the real Vayakel Moshe, Eila Advarim, made the place of learning. I'm thinking of another thing, this idea that the Prague roof kept up what he'd learned as a young man helping war-torn, shattered refugees. He learned that everyone needs a welcome and a place to stay. I read once about the efforts he made when the old Skverer Rebbe, Zecher Tzadik Levrocha, came to Prague, escaping from communist tyranny in Romania. And the Skver Rebbe had all kinds of hakpodas. It had to be just the right kind of room to stay in, and he wanted a new bed. Who got hold of a new bed in this? And people counted themselves lucky if they had a real bed and not just a mattress or a straw sack on the floor. But Skver Rebbe apologized, but he said, I can't sleep on a bed where I don't know where it's been and what's happened to it. A hotel room bed's not for me. He found a way of getting a brand new bed for the Skver Rebbe. There was a way. You accommodate everyone, the biggest, the smallest. When I first moved to the West Side, I was surprised. I was the rabbi in another shul. We got an application from a Choshev Yid in Eretz Yisrael who was also a brilliant chazan. And he was looking for a job as a chazan for Yom Neraim. So I asked the Gaboim, would they hire him? They said, well, we have to have a trial Shabbos to listen to him. So I told him, I can't make arrangements, but if he can be on the West Side for Shabbos, I could arrange for him to be the guest chazan in this shul. So he said, yeah, I can arrange it. So he came, he was a dignified Chassidishe Yid, he was a Talmid Chacham, he had a job with the Rabbanut, but he needed to make a little extra money, so he used to look for a job as a chazan, a Shoni Yom Kippur. So I said, so where did you stay? Do you know people here? He said, yeah, I know this person, Rabbi Vorhand. He puts up people. I said, yeah, but he's the Rav of his own Besmedrash. How could you? Oh, he said, doesn't matter. He's not concerned that I'm there in order to provide a service to another shul. He doesn't care. Everybody's welcome. There are lots of people there. So I saw a dimension of the Prague roof. He had an open house. You probably couldn't count the hundreds of people who slept in his house. And you certainly couldn't count the thousands who ate at his generous table. No questions asked. No listening to see if there's coins rattling in somebody's pocket on Shabbos. Just come, feel welcome. And Reb Nochum Moshe keeps up a lot of these things. It's really, he runs a very welcoming home, very welcoming Besmedrash. It's really a privilege to be connected to such a place of Torah and Chesed. Torah's Chesed al Lishoina. Some people are Zoicha. The Gemara asked it as a question: is there a Torah shel Chesed and a Torah she'eina shel Chesed? There is. There's Torah's Chesed, the people who are a venue for Torah and a venue for Chasadim. And not all of us can do all these things, but we can all support and help those who do, and be a partner a little bit in the Torah's Chesed, which has emanated from Heichal Moshe for 72 years, and which hopefully will continue to emanate from there until that day, which cannot be far off, when the Rabbeinu Shalom picks up all the Batei Midrashis of all over the world, and Me'arba Kanfes Aretz brings us back to Eretz Yisrael, B'binyan Bayis Hashlishi B'mheira V'yameinu Amen.
At this time, we kindly ask the waiters to please stop serving. Thank you.
קדושים, כולם אהובים, כולם ברורים, כולם גיבורים, כולם 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 קדושים.
Simon Shlita has been giving Shiurim and Abis Medrash for 10 years to wide acclaim. He's Rosh Hashiva, and his Shiurim are highly sought after. He draws a big crowd. I invite you to join. There's still room for others. Share in Amkus, share with Amelis, and a share with Haravanya. People enjoy the give and take. And it's tremendous, tremendous pleasure to have Rabbi Baruch Simon involved in Abis Medrash, Mechaber of the Imri Baruch Svarim, and a person who all adore and appreciate, a tremendous Yedid of the Rosh Shlita. It's a pleasure and treat to hear Divrei Torah from the Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Baruch Simon Shlita.
B'shus l'mor da'asra harav Vorhand Shlita, b'shus hakol hakadosh hazeh. It's a big schus to be here to honor the Kehila, Heichal Moshe, the Shul, the learning. It's a tremendous schus to be part of this enterprise. Baruch Hashem, it's close to 11 years that I've had a connection with this beautiful Kehila, and every Wednesday night I have the schus to come to share Divrei Torah, to give a shir. But what's so special about it is the words of the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. Shnayim sheyoshvim ve'ein beinehem divrei Torah harei ze moshav leitzim, which literally means if two people are sitting and not speaking words of Torah, that's a frivolous endeavor. Moshav leitzim. My late Rosh Hashiva, Rav Chaim Yaakov Goldvicht, always liked to quote the words of Rav Chaim Volozhina. And he explained that the point of Beinehem is not whether they're learning or not. But Beinehem means that there's a connection. There's an interaction between the people learning. Ein Beinehem means that it didn't exist. But this Kehila is Beinehem. We have a connection. It's not just we come and learn and we go on our way. The Rav is there. He knows every single person. He cares about every person. And I have a beautiful connection with all the people who attend the shir. It's not just you come, you learn, and you leave. It's Beineim. It's a Heverschaft. It's a tzav. Rashi, the Baruch Chaim HaKadosh says in the Pasuk Vatat Tzaveh as Bnei Yisrael, the Tzaveh Loshen Tzavsa, a Heverschaft. And that's what the shir is about. That's what the shul is about. That's what the kehillah is about. It's not every kehillah that you have the varmkeit that we have here in this beautiful kehillah. Everyone, whoever they are, kol ish lefi mahalalo. It's a warm environment to daven, to learn. You walk in and you feel the chevershaft. You feel the connection with the Rav. You feel the connection, each one with each other. It's a beautiful environment. That's what Torah is about. Torah is not just learning and being indifferent, have no shaykhs. No, everyone has a shaykhs with each other. We care about each other. Someone's not there, we call them up. It's learning, but it's the learning of Torah's chesed. Torah Lambda, the Gemara says, is Torah's chesed. That's the type of kehillah that we have. And it's Torah, not just a cold Torah, but the varma atmosphere. And that's the beauty of the whole kehillah and the beauty of the shul. And of course, any enterprise such requires in kemach in Torah, required to have an ongoing support for the shul, because everything costs these days. But you should realize such an important Makom Torah that brings people together. Anybody, whatever level person's on, can walk in and feel the warmth of the shul. And Be'ez Hashem, we hope to, for many years to come, to be able to be part of such a beautiful kehillah through the prism of Talmud Torah. And the Torah is, as we said, Beinehem. It's not the Ein Beinehem, it's the Torah Sheyesh Beinehem. And like Rav Chaim Volozhiner says, it's Beinehem means there's a conversation, there's a dusiach, there's a connection. And that's the beauty of this kehillah. So I thank you all for listening, and Be'ez Hashem, we should be able to be together in the future to actually see each other, as we already started, even during the time of COVID. We still kept the shir going. The Rav made sure we kept the shir going. It wasn't the same presence as we had, but still, the continuity continued, and we saw each other, mirachok. But now, Be'ez Hashem, we resumed in the Mokum. There's still people that are still on the Zoom, but still, everyone is connected. Be'ez Hashem, should have many occasions to celebrate together, to have Melaveh Malkas together, to share in Simchas together, and Be'ez Hashem in many years to come, with good health, gesund, and nachas from the whole mishpacha, for many years to come, through the prism of Torah. Ashreinu matov chalkeinu umanon garleinu umayyofa yerushaseinu.
We just said, Ine Keleshos. We need Eliyahu Hanavi to come tell us the great news. We have Mamish the Geula Shleim and Mamish. Even right now, Eliyahu Hanavi come give us, tell us the great news. Ivas alone besayo is daves Yeshua is venachamoi. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Atishbi, oh yeah, Eliyahu Akinodi, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Atishbi, Eliyahu Akinodi, Bi Meira Yavo Eleinu, Oy Bi Mashiach, Oy Bi Mashiach Ben David, Bi Meira Yavo Eleinu, Oy Bi Mashiach, Oy Bi Mashiach Ben David, la 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 David be Yavoyenu I be Mashiach I be Mashiach ben David la 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 Moshiach ben David la 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 la
Vehi sheyomedo lavoiseinu velo avonu shelo yechon bilvod omad aleinu lechal yisayinu omad aleinu lechal yisayinu Vehi sheyomedo lavoiseinu שעומדו לבויסנו ולנו שלא יכול בלבוד עומד עלינו לכלו יסנו עומד עלינו לכלו יסנו והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו מצילנו מידם והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו מצילנו מידם והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו מצילנו מידם והקדוש ברוך הוא מצילנו מצילנו
Bershus b'chashav ha'olam, I'd be remiss if not mentioning that the purpose of Melaveh Malka, besides inspiring all the attendees, besides entertaining all of us and having an enjoyable evening together, the very Torah, Luminaries, the very Chizuk, it's also an opportunity for us to give hakaras hatoiv monetarily to the Rav Shlita, to this Medrash. The Rav is involved in Chesed Yoin B'Layla. I've seen the Shabbos table. I've seen the Kedushim, Shalosh Shudas. I've seen the people who walk into this Medrash. All types, all stripes, people who are needy, people who want a shoulder to lean on, people who want a divrei chizuk from the Rav Shlita, people who need assistance from the Rav. and they come to this address to Vorhand, the congregation Heichal Moshe. I offer you all an opportunity to be involved in our Beis Medrash. Give us assistance. Let us continue being Mabitz Torah, doing Chesed, doing Avodah in our community. Baruch Hashem, 70 years already, 70 years plus in our community, and Mitzvah Hashem, I'd like to continue 70 more years, even in Eretz Yisrael, if Mashiach comes. I bless you all, give you all a bracha. Whatever you give for our Beis Medrash, for our continued operations, for all the chesed, all the programming, Shabbat tones we have, other programming, Hashem should give you whatever you need. Bracha, Batzlacha, B'chal Tov. It's Chodesh Nisan. It's the month that's coming. Atzidin Goel. Should be Zaycha for all our Chesed, all our Chasadim. Gula Shleima Meir Yameinu. Amen. Thank you so much.
Good Vach. Welcome everyone. We're in Sefer Vayikra, and I would like to share a vart on the opening of the Sefer. That's apropos to all of us, and a message that everyone could walk away with and feel connected with. It says, Vayikra Moshe, Vayidava Hashem Elov Ma'oil Moed Limar. And Hashem, and he called to Moshe, and Hashem spoke to him from the tent of meeting to say. And he goes on to explain the Kabbanos. And Rashi says something very interesting. It doesn't say Vayikra Hashem El Moshe. It says Vayikra Moshe Vayidav Hashem Elov. And Rashi says L'chol Dibros, L'chol Amiros, L'chol Tzviyim Kodma Kriya, to a preface to all the words and all the sayings and all the commandments. He prefaced with a calling. Loshen Chiba, a expression of endearment. Loshen Shamalache Hashores Mishtamshin B'Hem, a expression that the angels use. Shenema v'kora zeh el zeh ve'omar. As it says in Yeshaya, they call one to another. And Rashi explains also, but Nevi'eh Umas Ha'olam Niga Aleim B'Loshen Arai, to the prophets of the world, he revealed himself with the expression of Arai V'Tuma, Shenema V'Yikar Elkim El Bilam. It doesn't say V'Yikra, it says V'Yikar. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu, who was an Anav, didn't want to write with a big Aleph. He didn't want to express this Vayikra with a big Aleph to show that he's special. And Rashi continues and says, HaKoil hoylech u'magia la'oznav v'chol yisrael lo yishamim. The koil, the voice went out and reached his ears, but the rest of the people did not hear this. What is Rashi saying here? Rashi is explaining, it says, Vayidav Hashem Elov. But Rashi says on the Posach, V'yikra al Moshe. There's a very interesting Gemara in Masechta Tainis. The Gemara says that Ilfa and Rabbi Yochanan have a garser baraisa. Ilfa and Rabbi Yochanan both were studying Torah. The Chikale Milsa Tuva, they were in very financial straits, dire financial straits. Amri Nekim and Ezel and Eved Iska. They said to one another, let us go and do some business, undertake business venture to earn some money. And we will fulfill in ourselves the verse that says, among you will be no destitute. They went and they sat under a dilapidated wall. have a karcherifte, and they sat and ate bread. Osu trei malach ashurs, 2 ministering angels came. Shama Rabbi Yochanan Amar Chad L'Chaver. Rabbi Yochanan heard one angel tell his friend, Nishra Lai Haiguda V'Naklan Linu. Let's topple this wall on them. It was a dilapidated wall. Let's topple this wall on them, and we'll kill them. Shemanichem Chai Olam Abo V'Oiskim Chai Yeshua. They forsake the world, the life of the world to come, and they occupy themselves with transitory life. Chai Olam Hazeh Chai Yeshua. Amalei Idach. The other one said, Shavkinu. The other Malach said, let them go. Let them. Don't do that. The Ika Bahu Chad the Kamalei Shata, because amongst them there is one whose time will come. In other words, he will become great, and he doesn't deserve to die. So Rabbi Yochanan Shama, Ilfa Shama. Rabbi Yochanan heard this Malach talk to the second one, and Ilfa didn't hear it. Amalei Rabbi Yochanan le'Ilfa. Rabbi Yochanan said to Ilfa, Shama Mar Mida, did you hear anything? Did you hear this conversation? Amar, so he said, Loi. So he said, no. Amar Medeshama Ano, the Ilfa Loi Shama. So he said, since I heard this conversation and Ilfa didn't hear it, Shma Mino, the Didi Kaimale Shata. It's very evident from here that the time has come for me, for greatness. And the Gemara says, so Rabbi Yochanan, Amalei Rabbi Yochanan, Yehader, let me return. I decided I'm going back. And the Gemara says, B'nekav oiki b'nafshei ki lo yechtal evyon b'kerev ha'aretz. Rabbi Yochanan Hader, Ilfa lo Hader. So Rabbi Yochanan returned, and Ilfa did not return. Ad osa Ilfa Malach Rabbi Yochanan. By the time Ilfa came back from his business venture, Rabbi Yochanan became the head. He was crowned as the dean of the yeshiva. He became the head. Amalai, so Rabbi Yochanan said to Ilfa, I Asif, Mar v'Goris, if you had stayed and learned, Lo have Malach Mar, they would never have made me, because you're so great. You are so great that if you had returned with me, you would have become the head of the academy, of the yeshiva. And the Gemara goes on and explains that Ilfa was distraught, and he wanted to prove himself with all his going into business, what it meant. So there's something that you could really take out of this Gemara. The Gemara says, Vayikra Moshe. Moshe had this calling. He heard this calling. Vayikra Moshe. That Moshe had this calling that before every kriya, before every dibur, before every tzivui, there was a calling. Moshe heard this calling, but the rest of the people didn't hear the calling. Just like the Gemara says here. Rabbi Yochanan heard this calling. He heard the calling of the Malach. And that's why he went back and he became a great Torah scholar, great leader amongst Klal Yisrael, because he heard that calling. And the rest of the people didn't hear this calling. Everyone has a calling. It's the calling of Malach HaShoros Mishtamshim by. That's what Rashi says. Like the Gemara says that the Malach HaShoros, that he heard 2 malachim, 2 angels talking to each other. This is because angels have a mission. Everyone has a mission. A person just has to hear his calling. A person has to know every person has a mission, and every person, you can't say, well, I don't have the talent of someone else. Everyone has the talent. We just have to listen and hear our calling. And because Baruch Hu should help that we should all see our calling and our talent and our ability to be special and to be helpful and to make a difference in our life and in the life of our friends.
And it's a Yamaha, and it passes around to the Lubavitch, because Lubavitch is a lot of Yama, Mama, Yama, Ma, Yama.
I didn't think about that.
Everything has to have a purpose.
A little lower, or just a good
Adirabe, Tein Belibeinu, Shenir Kol Echad, Malas Chavereinu, Adirabe, Tein Belibeinu, Shenire kol echad malas chavereinu veloi cheseroinom oyat rabbe ein belibeinu kol echad malas chavereinu yad rabbe tein belibeinu shenire kol echad malas chavereinu v'loi Zeroinom V'sheneda b'kol echad es chaveiro v'derech ayofshor v'yorotzu lefonecha V'yal yale belibeinu Yishum esiyino Meyechot al chaveiroi Cholilo. Let's take this again. B'sheneda bein kol echad es chaveiroi B'derech Hayoshor veyorotzuy lefonecho v'yal yale b'libeinu yishuv mesiyino meyechot al chaveiroi cholilo oy 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 uschazek oy sono Yakol nachas ruach eilecho shehei yakol nachas ruach eilecho oyo shehei yakol nachas ruach eilecho shehei yakol nachas ruach. Sing along all of you at home. La ma 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 mo mo. Didi do do. Didi do da da da. Da 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 do. Ai da 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 da. Didi do 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 do. Didi do do. Didi da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da.
Pesach is around the corner, Rabbi Sai. Pesach is here. Pesach, of course, means higher prices, higher costs. This year, it's all Pesach. We all know the cost of gas, the cost of food, the cost of utensils, plastics, paperware has gone up tremendously. The cost of assistance to people who are needy has gone up astronomically. Be forthcoming, be generous, be appreciative, and be understanding of the needs of our Kehillah and of our Shul and Beis Medrash. Go with the Ayin Tov, come with the Ayin Tov, and be zocha to all the goodness that Kadosh Baruch Hu promises all of us for helping our Beis Medrash accomplish its Torah, Avodah, Gemilas Chasadim. Thank you so much.
I hope I'm one of them. Tell me if you are in. Then let's go down and make the people laugh, laugh, laugh. Hashem should help. You should keep smiling all your life. Just when the light, it was dark, and you put the candle by the motivation, you reach the light. One little light can bring light to the entire world. You go home and you think, okay, what was it? What is it? Let's remember what we spoke. It's another Nasiya. It's another thing that brings closer. And for me, I told you from a personal thank you that opened me up to a new world. Be'ezer Hashem, everybody's going to see the light. All the badness will fight. In the perfect time, everything will be alright. I'm going to sing you one last and final song for this Shabbos, and we'll be back by Hashem. I want to give a tremendous gratitude and thank you to Yanki Yosef Heldenbaum. This is everybody else. So may Hashem give him the pure light that he should find his true love. Amen. We're neighbors since childhood. And I'm going to tell you that I just made a new album. It's called Bav Lipa, and it's in Yiddish. And I'm sorry that it's only Yiddish, but you know, just like we hear the opera singer here and we don't understand, and they fill up thousands of people in the auditorium, just like Yiddish-speaking people listen to Hanan Ben Ari. You can listen to Philippe Schnell to sing Yiddish. Like he also brings in Simcha to people. He just finished his degree, or he's finishing. Almost finished his degree in social work. It'll be amazing. And the Gemara says that, and this is a chizik for me when people sometimes bash on the internet. So and you always need the chizik. You should only read positivity, but still you need chizik. The Gemara says, who are the two people who go to Canaan?
Oh, sorry.
For your daughter, I remember you and the husband from Toronto. Baruch Hashem, wow, I don't know now that everything becomes one big picture, kind of hard. Anyway, but now let's just do this. I had a schus, an honor to spend the Shabbos in the Prague Shul in Manhattan, to have a Chassidishe Shtiebel, where all the tzaddikim come here when they go to Manhattan. And it was a big honor for me to find a Shul, a Heimische Shul, in a mikveh. We learned the Rechaim HaKodesh. It was unbelievable in Manhattan, a geweldige Sache. Geweldig.